I want to let everyone know that you are all investors and you're investing you're trying to allocate your most precious asset, and that is your time. And there's so much that we talk about and we've seen here already this week from what and how to build with Filecoin. But what I wanted to spend my time on is talking about why to build with Filecoin. And I know everyone in this room is so smart, so talented, but sometimes it just needs to be broken down into its most simplistic form so you can understand and how to tell your parents about, hey, I've decided to devote my career to this thing called Filecoin. No, no, hear me out. I'm not crazy. This is a way for me to tell you kind of how I got to my why with Filecoin, because I think having an innate connection, an emotional connection to your why, is what I see across the entire Filecoin community. Why they show out and show up every day to build with Filecoin. So my part of the Filecoin community is really working with data clients and everything that goes on in between that data client and the storage provider. The storage provider in and of itself is the heart and soul of Filecoin, and these are people with a deep connection to that why. And if you guys can tap into your why, I think that's going to be a great thing for you to do going forward. I've already talked to so many people here at this conference. They're students, they're entrepreneurs, they're working on multiple chains. And to me, if they can find their why and their prioritization, that's where big things occur. So I want to start the story of my why with a career lesson I got from an unlikely source. I got some career advice a long time ago from a professional gambler. And he's told me, Porter, all great success in your career is going to come from being at the right table at the right time. And so this is where you think of craps. So if you've ever been to a craps table, you love being at the hot craps table. And you think about, you could be the worst player at that craps table, but if it's hot, you're going to win money, you're engaged, you're energetic, you're enthused. But you could also be the best craps player at the worst table. Uh, and like, it doesn't matter how well you play, how tight you are, how disciplined you are, how hard you work, it's just not going to work for you. And you hear that advice. This is about a decade ago from this gambler, and you already saw it playing out in your career. I think every one of us has that job we almost got but didn't, and then we look back and say, "Thank God I didn't get that opportunity. God, I'd be in such a different place." And it's all about getting at the right table at the right time. And you think about this in technology, like in 2015, you could have been sitting there going, "God, do augmented reality, or do I go join this open AI project?" Well, both were great seats at the time. One puts you in a dramatically different place today than if you would have selected the other one. So it's all about selecting the right table at the right time, and that's how you get transformational growth in your career. And so I want to talk about what I did, what the process I went through, and why I selected to invest my time in Filecoin. And the first premise is the macro tailwinds that Filecoin is experiencing, and that is data growth. And you frankly can't fathom how much data is being created in the world today. The human brain is great at thinking linearly, it is terrible at thinking exponentially. And so you look at that from the history of civilization to 2003, the world had created 5 exabytes of data. In 2010, that increased to the world was creating 5 exabytes of data every other day. Now society on a daily basis is 329 exabytes of data. You can't comprehend that much data. It's really difficult. So just now, you all sitting in your seats, I see you on your phones, you are creating 1.7 megabits of data every second. That's 4 gigabytes of data a day from like that you don't even know you're these data creation machines. And like you're not even harnessing or storing your own data for that matter and using it to your own advantage. But that's just how much data you yourself are creating. And we talk about these terms of like megabytes, gigabytes, petabytes, exabytes, and it's really hard to comprehend. So the one we use most commonly in Filecoin is called the petabyte. And a petabyte worth of data is the equivalent of you taking 4,000 digital photographs a day for the rest of your life. And just to give you some context, CERN, which is the research laboratory out of Switzerland, they do particle acceleration. This is an institute creating 1 petabyte of data a day. And an exabyte, which we're talking about, so there's 329 exabytes of data created every day, and that's 1,000 petabytes. So that's just how hard it is to comprehend just how much data is being created by the world. And this data needs to get stored. And if you think about this problem at any length of time, you're going to realize that public cloud just isn't enough. You need something different, something more than just public cloud to store all this data that we're creating as a society. And if you think about public clouds, they're really just a walled garden. They're very easy to get into. They're very nice inside. It's very well manicured. Everything's super well, and it's quite the experience. But it's impossible to move around and impossible to get out. I love this picture to illustrate the walled garden because you can see the only way out is that little door in the upper part of the screen. And that's exactly what public clouds are designed to do. They want to make it easy for you to get in, hard for you to get out. And there's other issues. They can shut you down for any reason. Moving data around is extremely expensive. They can change their pricing at any time for any reason. And public clouds by definition are a single point of failure. And a lot of these things have challenges for users today, data stores today, and especially the data stores of tomorrow. What do users want in terms of their data? It's pretty simple. They want control. This is the ethos of Web3. It's all about control, and your data should be no different. We all have that uncomfortable feeling about Facebook that they're monetizing your data without your permission. Well, they have your permission by using the platform, but your behaviors are being monetized or without your consent. Same with Google. The other thing users want is security. Just like with any asset you own, you want to know that it's protected, it's safe, it's where you left it, it's in the state that you left it. And security is just one of those fundamental principles that everyone wants when their data, whether it's a business or yourself as an individual. Security is of utmost importance. So now let's bring in Filecoin into this story. So we have the macro tailwinds, we have the situational factors that are public clouds, and then we're going to bring Filecoin into this story. So we all know, just level setting, master of the obvious, Filecoin is a decentralized network that was created to provide a more efficient and secure way to store and retrieve data on the internet. But simply put, as I explained Filecoin to my parents and my family about what I do for a living, Filecoin is immutability, verifiability, and control built on top of blockchain technology. I know that's an oversimplistic definition, but it works for whether you're trying to sell Filecoin or decentralized storage or just trying to explain it to a friend at a bar. And Filecoin has achieved a lot since its inception, mainnet launch 3 years ago. We've seen these slides before where there's 3,400 storage providers. We have close to 10 exabytes of capacity. We're onboarding data like crazy on a daily basis. We have all these great, interesting logos from across the world storing their data onto the network. But we got to go a little bit further to understand, to get to the why. Why is this interesting? Why is this important? And these are just some of the great examples that we see out there from use cases. I love this premise that I've used for the last decade of my career in technology, is trying to answer the value over the next best alternative. And if you can concisely answer in your business the value you provide over the next best alternative, trust me, you're going to get investors, you're going to get clients. Answering this is the most critical thing I found that in any business, the more concisely you can answer it, the better off you'll be. And with Filecoin, the special sauce in the hamburger is proof of space-time. And what proof of space-time is the continuous proofs that the protocol runs to prove that the storage provider has your data, is in fact accurate and intact in the way that you initially input the data into the system. It is a continuous proofs to prove to you, the data client, that the network is storing your data in the manner it promised. And that is the special sauce of Filecoin, in my opinion. And we hear this from clients, we hear this from storage providers, but we can go into a little bit more detail later on and where proof of space-time has real value going forward. So we have great use cases, and I call these like a lot of legal hold type use cases. Scientific research has a replication crisis where they need to be able to prove and replicate certain scientific studies, and they need that data to be proven that it's in the same state that it was input, so researchers can actually get the same results as their peers. You think of safety, airline manufacturers, if there's an incident or an airline crash, these organizations have to save all the supply chain data, all the maintenance records, everything about that aircraft and every single part in case there's a lawsuit going on. Same with insurance and security television. You need to save all this video footage just in case you might need it for a legal case later on. We all know about financial reporting where you have to save your financial data for the 7 years in case you get audited. All these require lots of storage, lots of verifiability needs, and these are the types of use cases that we see in Filecoin really getting traction and a lot of interest. And they also represent large data sets. And now we go back to that walled garden principle. When you look at this slide, you can see that, in public cloud, the numbers stick out to you immediately. And they see like AWS Glacier, for example, it's really cheap to store your data there, but it's really expensive to move it around or access it. So they charge you what is known as egress fees. And that egress fee is where these public cloud companies make all their money. That's how the walled garden works. So Filecoin comes in with, much more affordability, much more flexibility. And we're so close to getting to feature parity with these Web 2 solutions such as Backblaze and Wasabi. And you think about when we get to that level of parity, I am convinced, and I think everyone here in this room would agree with me, that in an open and decentralized ecosystem where innovation can reign supreme, I don't think Web 2 companies such as Backblaze and Wasabi are going to be able to keep up with all the development and intellectual power that you've seen at this conference this week, that you should see at all the Filecoin events from across the globe. We have builders progressing and building together in an open and decentralized ecosystem. And when we get feature parity with Web 2 providers such as Wasabi and Backblaze, I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the rate and pace of innovation that Web 3 projects such as Filecoin can generate. Phil Bangalore is a perfect example of that. And when you look at like this relationship between data clients and storage providers, there's multiple ways that people can participate and influence this ecosystem. We have sales. People are out there just selling decentralized storage. We have software providers, two of whom you'll hear from today. They got amazing user interfaces that just make storing data on the network super easy, super intuitive. They're going to blow your mind from a developer standpoint on what these entrepreneurs were really able to create with Filecoin as its primary backend. We have a whole ecosystem of enablers who are just providing services that enable the network to specialize and be more competitive, from sealing as a service, infrastructure as a service, lending, DeFi, you name it. And then at the core of everything, we have our storage provider network who stores humanity's data. And these are entities located all over the globe working to put the data onto the network. So let's get to the killer use case, in my opinion. You heard a little bit about this from Balaji earlier today, but the killer use case is AI. Why do I think AI is the killer use case for Filecoin? I'm a US resident, and I think that it's undisputed from talking to lawyers, entrepreneurs, people in the AI industry, everyone who I can talk to in the space. They tell me regulation is coming. Even Balaji referred to regulation in the AI community is already on the uptick. And when it does, whatever regulation comes, like you're not going to be able to do, like no one saves their training data today. But within a regulated environment, you're going to have to start saving that training data. And it's going to go from the trash bin to the data storage. And so what are they going to need when they begin to save this data? They're going to need data that's programmable, immutable, verifiable, with no single point of failure. Hopefully this is beginning to sound familiar. Hopefully you're connecting the dots on the why Filecoin is such a great investment of your time. Like I always love the AI revolution is here. Think of a new way, to contribute to that ecosystem. And Filecoin and AI are like peanut butter and jelly. And this is a way that everyone here can participate in crypto and AI at the same time. To give it a little bit more context, there's this quote from Arthur Hayes. Arthur Hayes, co-founder of BitMEX, founder of Maelstrom Fund. He's a crypto OG, and I really think he nailed it with this quote. Without data, an AI model can't learn. If the data is compromised due to a single point of failure, or a central data storage entity changes its access rights or its prices, an AI model that is dependent on the storage entity will cease to be. It is an existential risk, which is why I argue that AIs must use a decentralized storage solution. That is why decentralized data storage networks powered by Filecoin is a must-have for the burgeoning AI economy. I couldn't agree more, Arthur. Well said. Arthur is much smarter than me, so I hope that resonates. Then you get to the light bulb moment. Now we're getting to the big thing, next level, which is companies will begin to monetize their AI data sets through open and decentralized marketplaces. Wow, what's an open and decentralized marketplace that we may have heard of? Yes, Filecoin. Public cloud has been talking about data monetization since public cloud was invented. I used to work at IBM Cloud, and the CEO at the time, Ginny Rometty, started talking about data monetization in 2014. And public cloud just could never pull this off. It was not structured to be that open and decentralized ecosystem which the world can innovate on. And when you get to this point of data monetization, you're going to need confidence that the data used to train your AI models is legitimate, ethical, legal, and auditable, especially in regulated industries. Anything that relates to food, health and safety, insurance, financial institutions, etc. This is going to be a core part. And I know this is going to be a hard thing to conceptualize, but when you have a strong why, and you understand where you're going, you can prioritize, you can dedicate your time, you can commit. And I hear so many people out there looking for their why. And if you find it, as I did with Filecoin, I think you can find others here in this community that are doing transformational things. With that, I'm going to give you a quick preview of some of the other people who have found their why with the Filecoin ecosystem. From Ghost Drive, we have Roman. Lighthouse, we have Nandit. Cusp, we have Anish, and my colleague at the Filecoin Foundation, Paul Wagner. I think you can hear from them on the why and why they've chose to dedicate their career, as have I, to building on Filecoin and the future of decentralized storage. As always, you can get connected to the community, and I promise you that when you do, you will find the most intellectually stimulating and collaborative group of people that I've come across in my career, and I encourage you to find that out for yourself. We do have a Telegram group that you can log into, screenshot this, and begin to chat with us. Get all the information you need to make sure you're continuing on your Filecoin journey.